What happens when a decorated black veteran helps a stranger and ends up humiliated by airline staff in front of a silent crowd? What follows at 30,000 feet flips the entire flight upside down? Before we begin the story, write in the comments where you are watching us from. You ever had one of those mornings where the universe seems to wake up grumpy, and you're the punching bag? That was me, James Holloway, 47, ex-Army logistics officer, now head of a veteran outreach foundation. Woke up in a San Diego Marriott after 3 hours of sleep, ironed my one good shirt, and dragged my suitcase to the airport for a red-eye back to D.C. I had just finished a speech on trauma reintegration for black veterans. Folks clapped. One lady cried, "It felt good." You do right, you expect right back. At least, that's how it should be. But then came Gate C-12. I'm walking up to board, minding my business, when I spot this older white woman. Short, struggling to wrangle a floral suitcase that's clearly trying to run away from her. People were walking past her like she was part of the carpet. You'd think she was invisible. I stepped in, gently lifted the bag. "Let me help you, ma'am." She blinked like she hadn't heard those words in 20 years. "Oh, well, thank you, young man." Her tone had that old-school warmth, like molasses and porch swings. I helped her to the gate entrance, thinking maybe, just maybe, karma might give me a nod. But instead, I got flagged. "Excuse me, sir," came a voice dripping with customer service ice. "This lane is for priority boarding." I turned. White dude, maybe 35, flight attendant uniform too crisp. Like he ironed it with attitude. He was blocking me like I had tried to sneak into a members-only club. "I'm just helping her with her bag," I said, calm and clear. He looked me up and down. You know that look. The one that says, "I don't care what your mouth says, I've already decided who you are." Well, she can take it from here. You need to step back to your boarding group. Now I've faced worse. I've had boots thrown at me by drill sergeants and side eyes from mayors. But something about being corrected in front of the woman I just helped, it settled wrong. Still I nodded and stepped back. She tried to speak up. Bless her. He was just helping, but Mr. Authority raised a hand. "We've got it, ma'am." I watched her disappear down the jetway. Then it was my turn. Group 4, like always. I boarded with the rest of us mortals. That's when it got real cute. Seat 21B window. Not first class, not exit row, but my seat. Except when I got there it had grown a hoodie. A white guy in his 20s, big headphones, big shoes, bigger attitude. I gave him a friendly smile. "Hey, I think you're in my seat." No response, just a thumbs up. I kid you not, a thumbs up. I tapped the seat back. "Hey man, 21B, that's me." He looked at me, real slow. Pulled one earbud out like I had interrupted his TED Talk. "You sure you ain't 32E? That's near the bathroom. Might be more your vibe." Now, I don't know what gave him the impression that I like being insulted before takeoff. But the sarcasm in my gut was rising like water in a leaky boat. I inhaled, counted to 3, and was about to ask the flight attendant for help. Guess who showed up? Mr. Priority Boarding. "Problem here?" he asked the white kid. Not me. Kid shrugged. "He says this is his seat." Mr. Crisp Uniform looked at my boarding pass, squinted like it was written in ancient code, then sighed. "Well, sir, maybe just take the seat behind. It's open. Let's not make a scene." There it was. Let's not make a scene. That magical phrase they use when you are the one being mistreated, but they don't want discomfort in the cabin. I glanced around. Passengers were pretending not to listen, but I saw the sideways looks. One woman was already filming. "I'm not making a scene," I said quietly. "I'm sitting where I paid to sit." The flight attendant leaned in. "Sir, we can have you removed. Is that what you want?" "Oh, so now I'm the problem." I looked at the white kid. He was smirking. I sat down. Not in 21B. In 32E, next to the toilet, knees up against the tray table, pride folded smaller than the Sky Mall catalog. And nobody said a word. The ones filming kept filming. The ones reading kept reading. And the ones in uniform kept pretending they were solving problems while causing them. Now let me tell you something. This wasn't new. But it never gets old either. Every time it digs in deeper, not just because of the insult, but because of the silence. Silence from people who could have said something, who knew it was wrong, who chose comfort over courage. And so I sat there, seatbelt fastened, back straight. A veteran, a speaker, a man who'd spent the last decade helping people stand up straight again. Now hunched, silenced, and pushed back like luggage that didn't quite fit in overhead. But, oh, if they only knew what was in my briefcase. What happened next changed everything. You do not want to miss how this story takes a turn that left everyone on board speechless. Ever sat in a seat so wrong it felt like it was judging you? That was me, squeezed into 32E, the last row by the restroom, knees grazing the plastic wall, surrounded by the unmistakable scent of recycled air and reheated coffee. Every time the lavatory door opened, I got a breeze that reminded me exactly how far from first class I was. Not just in seating, but in how I was being treated. I didn't belong there, and we all knew it. But silence is a powerful weapon when people want to keep their hands clean. 10 minutes into the flight, I tried to focus, maybe distract myself. I pulled out my tablet to read over some notes for a Zoom meeting I had after landing. A call with the Department of Veteran Affairs. I was scheduled to speak about restructuring trauma programs for service members transitioning to civilian life. Real stuff. Life-changing. But of course, the moment I clicked the screen, a different kind of announcement rolled through. "Ladies and gentlemen," the intercom crackled, "please be aware of turbulence. We ask all passengers to remain seated unless absolutely necessary." And just like that, the restroom next to me became the busiest spot in the sky. I started to laugh. Not loud, just that tired kind of chuckle that slips out when life turns into a bad sitcom, and you're the punchline. And then came the cherry on top. A flight attendant, not Mr. Priority, but a woman this time, blonde bob, tight smile, stopped beside me and asked, "Sir, can I help you with something?" I looked up, confused. "No, I'm good." "Well, we've had a few passengers express concern that you were recording them earlier?" I blinked. "Recording?" She nodded, eyebrows tight like she was trying to solve algebra in her head. "With your tablet." "My tablet's locked," I replied, holding it up. "You can see the screen." She hesitated, then leaned down, whispering now, like we were plotting a heist. "Some folks feel uncomfortable. We just want to make sure you're not capturing any footage." And there it was, the unspoken "you." Not anyone. Not the teenager behind me who had his phone out since takeoff. Not the couple filming their travel vlog 2 rows up. Me. The black guy in the wrong seat with the wrong skin at the wrong time. I kept my voice calm, but my jaw was tight. "I'm not filming anyone. I'm reading my notes." She gave me that look. The "I hear you, but I already made up my mind" look. then nodded and walked off, heels tapping like punctuation marks of suspicion. And now heads were turning. That whisper had become a wave. I saw a man lean toward his wife and mutter something. A woman glanced back at me, then quickly turned around like I was a statue that blinked. I shifted in my seat. My back hurt. My pride hurt more. And that's when I felt it. The shift. A ripple in the cabin. Voices. The kind that sound like code words and confusion. The flight attendant who had just interrogated me whispered something into a phone near the galley. Moments later, she disappeared behind the curtain up front. Something was happening. I sat upright. Years in the army teach you to feel it. That moment when the air changes, when people start moving with urgency but pretend they're not. That curtain that separated economy from business class suddenly felt like the Iron Curtain. Then I saw him, the co-pilot, broad-shouldered, square jaw, uniform still crisp despite the altitude. He stepped out of the cockpit, speaking to the flight crew in hushed tones. He didn't even glance at me, which somehow made it worse. He pointed. I saw a gesture toward the back, my direction. Then he walked the aisle, slow, steady, like he was inspecting troops. And just like that, he was in front of me. "Mr. Holloway?" I raised an eyebrow. "Yes? I understand there's been some confusion regarding your seat and your conduct on board." He said it so smoothly, like we were on a golf course and someone had just questioned my membership. I didn't answer right away. I reached into my briefcase and pulled out a folder. Black leather, embossed with gold. Inside, credentials, testimonials, and one letter in particular, from the Secretary of Veterans Affairs. I handed it to him. He opened it, read the top line, and froze. The change in his expression wasn't dramatic. No gasps, no dropped jaw. Just a tightening around the eyes, a twitch of the mouth. But I'd seen it before. That instant when someone realizes they might have just stepped in something they can't wipe off. "Excuse me a moment," he muttered. He turned and walked briskly back toward the cockpit, folder still in hand. The curtain didn't swish behind him, goes. It snapped. Now the air really shifted. Flight attendants started buzzing like bees in a hive that had just been poked. The blonde one walked by again, didn't make eye contact. Another male crew member appeared with a tablet and started scanning names like he was reassigning seats mid-flight. People were whispering now, no longer pretending. The whole row in front of me was practically twisted backward in their seats. And me? I just sat there, still, watching. 7 minutes passed. 7 long, quiet, high-altitude minutes. And in those 7 minutes, something cracked open. Not just the false calm of this flight, but the paper-thin illusion that silence equals safety. This is it, the moment everything shifts. The silence is over, and the reckoning is here. Stick around. You're about to see how one man turned the sky upside down. You know that feeling when the air goes still, like the moment before a thunderstorm cracks open the sky? That was the cabin. A quiet tension stretched through the rows like plastic wrap pulled too tight. Phones were out, but not recording. Folks didn't want to be obvious. But eyes? Eyes were everywhere, watching me like I was both suspect and prophecy. Then the curtain parted. Out stepped the captain, not the co-pilot, not some mid-flight manager trying to look important. No, the captain. Tall, gray around the temples, face set like stone. The kind of man you'd expect to steer a ship through a hurricane without blinking. And yet, he looked shaken. He carried my folder like it weighed 50 pounds. The murmurs died before he spoke. Even the air vents seemed quieter. "Mr. Holloway," he said, firm but not cold. "I'd like to personally apologize." "Now hold on. Personally. Apologize." That got the cabin leaning in like a choir. I didn't move. Didn't blink. Let him stand there a second longer than polite, just to see how uncomfortable truth could make a uniform. "I've just reviewed your credentials," he continued. "And, frankly, sir, this never should have happened." He turned to the row of flight attendants who had gathered behind him, like students caught in the hallway with answers scribbled on their hands. "This gentleman," he said, raising the folder, "is the director of one of the largest national veteran reintegration programs in the country. He has worked with 3 administrations, and he was personally invited to consult with the Department of Defense on the reintegration of wounded service members." Pause. Breath. Now the punch. "And he's also a decorated Army veteran." Boom. That silence in the cabin? It shattered. A ripple of gasps, throat clears, seat shifting. Someone mumbled, "I didn't know." And someone else whispered, "That's the guy from the news last year." Mr. Priority Boarding, yeah, him, turned ghost pale behind the drink cart. The blonde flight attendant clutched her tablet like it might teleport her off the plane. And me? I still hadn't said a word. Captain cleared his throat. "Mr. Holloway, your original seat, 21B, is available. I'd like to personally escort you there." Now here's the thing. I could have walked with him. Could have stood up right then and followed the path of apology and acknowledgement back to my rightful seat. But I wasn't done. I stood, slow and deliberate. I adjusted my jacket, tucked my folder back in the briefcase. And then I spoke. For the first time since all this began, I didn't ask for special treatment. I asked for equal treatment. You'd think I dropped a hammer on the aisle. I didn't ask to be escorted. I asked to be respected. I turned, not to the captain, but to the cabin. Eyes locked with mine, one after another. When a man pays for a seat, he deserves the seat. When a man helps a stranger, he shouldn't be punished. And when a man's skin tone dictates his place in the cabin more than his ticket does, then maybe the plane isn't the only thing that needs a new direction. The captain nodded, tight-lipped. He didn't have words, and to his credit, he didn't try to fake any. He just turned and led me down that aisle like a general walking with a peer. As we passed, folks shifted. Some avoided my eyes. Some whispered, "Sorry." One woman gave me a small nod. Not pity, but respect. That meant something. I slid into 21B, finally. Window seat. My seat. I leaned back, looked outside. Clouds below, sky above. And in between, one truth. You can't change how people see you, but you can damn sure change what they remember about you. We touched down 2 hours later. As we taxied, I gathered my things. Mr. Priority stood by the exit like nothing happened. The blonde attendant glanced once, then looked away. They'd have a meeting about this, no doubt. One of those corporate sit-downs with coffee and buzzwords. But something told me they'd remember my name longer than the coffee would stay warm. As I stepped off the plane, the captain offered a handshake. "Thank you for your service," he said, softer now. Real. I took it, but I didn't thank him. Because sometimes silence isn't surrender. It's a statement. This wasn't just about a seat. It was about space. The kind of space black folks fight for every day. The space to be heard, seen, respected. Not because of medals or folders, but because being human should be enough. And on that flight, for 7 minutes, it wasn't. But after that, they listened. They had to.